Now, before we get ready to actually send this message, one of the things that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make sure that in addition to our HTML message, that we also send out a plain text version. Some people will only be able to receive plain text, even though most people will be able to receive an HTML message inside of one of the common email providers like Gmail or Hotmail or one like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the plain text area. And what you're going to notice is that Aweber will auto-generate the information based on what's there. However, we don't want our client to see the information like this when it comes to them. So what we want to do is we want to customize this information. We can do that by clicking the custom button. And then we can then customize the look and make corrections as we're doing right here. Now, once the email is the way that we want it to look, we can click Save and Exit, and then we can save the entire message. Now, there is one other aspect that you'll notice down here, that you can actually include an attachment from your hard drive. However, you can reduce the deliverability of your email based on the document that you place here. So you want to make sure that it is absolutely necessary that you send out a document to all of your email subscribers in this list. So now that we have everything in the email the way we want it to be, we're going to click Preview and Test. And then we can then take a look at our email. If we think it is sufficient, then we can click Save and Exit. Now the email still appears in our draft, and we have a couple of options. We can either copy this to another list, or we can actually add this to our follow-up series or our autoresponders, or we can send it out as a broadcast email. Now each one of these cases requires some explanation, so we are going to actually do that in the next video. However, what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a look at our spam score, and we're going to click this link. What the Aweber filter does is it tries to discern what may look like spam in terms of your message. And if you see some changes that you think you could make, you might want to go back and change some of the phrases that Aweber gives you that could cause a problem in the spam filter. But in general, if your spam score is where it needs to be, you can conclude that this email is going to be okay to send. Now, one thing that we can do is we can send this email to ourselves by sending a test email. And we'll write our email address here in the box to make sure that it makes it into our box and it doesn't go to the spam filter. All we have to do is click Send Test. And when we see the email inside of our box, we've got a pretty good indication that this could be a good email and it will actually make it to our customer. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now in this video, we are going to focus just on creating links inside of your emails. And these links can be created for broadcast emails. They can also be created for follow-up emails. What we're going to do is we're going to edit a message in our drafts area, and we can click the edit link. And that brings us to the edit screen. Now, in order to place a link, all you'll need to do is you'll need to place the link someplace in the body of your email. Now, there are several ways of being able to do this. You can actually place the actual URL and create a link with it. For example, we can create a link in this way. Now you'll see the entire URL there, and you actually don't need that in order to place the link inside of your email. It will be there for reference to the people who are going to be reading it. Now what you're going to do in order to create an active clickable link is you're going to highlight this link. Then you're going to click the link icon. That's going to open up into a dialog box. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that URL, we're going to place it inside of this URL. And what you'll notice is that there is an HTTP here, an HTTP here. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that we backspace so that all that appears there is the HTTP on the left side and then the URL on the right side. Now, if the URL is formatted correctly, you're going to see a green success bar here. And then you're going to click OK. You'll then see that this link is going to be a different color. That means that the link is going to be clickable. Now, it doesn't mean that the link is going to be rendering. We are going to need to check that before we actually send, but for this stage of the process, it is a correct link. Now, another way to send a link, obviously, is to hyperlink inside of your text. And you can do that by going inside and actually highlighting text, going to the link icon, and then placing the URL inside. And you'll notice then that the HTTP actually goes away all by itself. We're going to click OK. So now we've created two different kinds of links. We can also just write in a phrase someplace in our text, and we can hyperlink that text. We'll click the link icon, and then we'll put the link in here. Now, in addition to creating links, we can also create email addresses. And we can do that by highlighting the text, going to the link icon, and then changing the link type to email. And what we're going to do is we're going to write our email address that we wanted to send to in this box, and then we're going to put a starter subject and a message body in there. Okay, so once all your text is in, you're going to click OK. And this is actually going to be clickable into an email address. And what it will do is it will actually open up the email editor of the person who's actually clicking the link. Now, for the sake of deliverability, you'll want to keep your linking to affiliate sites to a minimum and redirecting to a minimum. When possible, you want to send people to your own website. So what we're going to do now that we have our content in, we're going to click Save, and then we're going to click Save and Exit. So now that this message is in our drafts area, we are now going to go ahead and send this as a broadcast. We're going to schedule it, and we're going to send it immediately. Aweber is going to warn us and ask us if we want to send this broadcast, and we're going to go ahead and send it. And now our email with our links is actually sent. So now that this email has arrived in our box, we can actually click these links, and they are clickable. Now, what you'll notice is that these links have a tracking code in them. And this allows Aweber to tell us whether or not people are clicking these links. So if we click this link, we'll then know that this link has been clicked when we go and look at our email statistics. We can also have this link, which is our email link, open up into an email facility. And you'll see that our email is now ready to be sent by clicking that link. And Aweber will always give us the statistics for our sending. So actually, we only had one email being received. It was opened by one person. But if we had more than one person inside of our email list, we could actually view our statistics for that email. And Aweber will tell us how many people opened it, how many people clicked on the links. If we had sales tracking and someone reached the page, it'll tell us how many people actually sold, how many people unsubscribed, and then how many times people hit the domain. We can actually look at how many emails are unopened and then how many have been opened. And if we wanted to send a follow-up email to either people who had not opened our email or people who had opened our email, all we would have to do is to create a segment based on these subscribers. So in this case, all we would need to do is to click Send Directly to Subscribers. Aweber would ask us for a segment name. We would create our segment name, and then we'd save our segment. Now, obviously, you're going to have more than one person in your email list. In this particular case, the mechanics will work the exact same. You would still create a segment based on either people who had opened, people who had unopened. You can create a segment and actually send an email to them. So here's how that process would work. You'd actually click Schedule a Broadcast, and then you'd actually have all of the list selected. But what you do is you would actually edit, and then you would actually send to a certain segment. And you'll see there that our segment that we just created is actually there. And so the only people that will receive this email would be those within the segment that we created. And then we would click Send Message Now. So again, we are tracking clicks, we are tracking statistics, and we can tell what our broadcast and our email marketing is actually doing. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Now, one of the ways to create content for your emails inside of your draft will be to do a blog broadcast. And Aweber has that blog broadcast in the messages area, and all you'll have to do is to go to that link and then click Create a Blog Broadcast. Now, if you are a blogger or a podcaster, you'll be able to create your broadcast by having your RSS feed URL. Now, this is going to happen every time you publish a certain amount of content. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to write in a subject so that your customers will recognize that this is going to be your content and that you have actually published something new. So you can actually write in here something like new post. You can actually personalize that subject line so that when the person actually sees the email, they're going to see their name, they're going to see that it is a new post. So what you can then do is you can write in a message that's going to appear every time that you have new content. We can actually put that same message inside of the plain text box so that it also goes out. Now, if your content is from a WordPress blog, Aweber can actually tell you how to find the feed URL for your RSS. And typically it is going to be in one of the forms that you see here. We can take that feed information and we can place that in our feed. And then we can actually choose a template. Now you'll notice that we've just got writing here, but we can actually use a template, or you can leave it in the plain format. And that is what we are going to do. Now, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll notice that we can actually control the send time of the content and the email. So we can actually send the broadcast either immediately or we can send it at a specific time. We can also determine how often we send the broadcast, which will not be dependent on how often we publish. So, for example, we can send a broadcast on a certain period of the day, a certain time of the month. We can send it automatically, and of course, we can continue to track clicks. So once we've determined how we're going to send our broadcast, we can then click the items, and then we can click Save Blog Broadcast. So now we have automated content so that whenever we actually have new content on our blog, it's actually going to be sent to people according to our post reaching the number 4. This is a great way of actually keeping the people who actually want your content well aware of what it is that you are doing. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. When you have completed your drafts, one of the things that you can do is you can actually place that draft inside of your follow-up series. And these are actually your autoresponder emails. So in this particular case, what we're going to do is we're going to start this video by clicking the Add to Follow-up series. Aweber is going to give us a message and let us know that this is going to be the first follow-up message. So in other words, when a subscriber signs up for this list, they're going to confirm their email address, and this email is going to be the first one they're going to receive. We're going to go ahead and click the Add to Follow-up series. Now, Aweber is actually going to place you inside of the follow-up area. And you'll notice then that you can now place your messages in order according to how your customer is going to actually see them. And these messages are going to be sent automatically. Now, each of the autoresponder messages are going to have settings. So, for example, let's say that we create a second and third message. And we're going to do that quickly, and then we're going to take a look at how we customize the settings. Now, we have gone to the draft section to draft both of our emails. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to move these to the follow-up area. So we're going to click Add to Follow-up Series. And what you're going to notice is with this email, follow-up number 2 comes 1 day after the previous one. We can actually customize this number. We can set it to 2, we can set it to 3, we can set it to wherever we want it to be. We can also have it to appear at a different time. So for example, we can have it to appear on a certain day if we need to. Or we can have it appear at a certain time. We can actually customize when this email is going to appear to all of our clients. We can actually send this email according to each subscriber's local time if we click this link. And then we can actually make it so that all of the days and times will apply to all of the messages in the list. Now, we're not going to do that in this particular case. We're just going to add this to the follow-up series. Now we have 2 messages in our follow-up. The second one actually comes 1 day after the first, and it starts at 9 a.m. We can now go back to the draft area, and then we can set the message for the third message. We can add that to the follow-up series, and we can make it so that this message actually comes 3 days after message number 2. We can then click Add to Follow-up Series. And now what we basically have is we have a campaign that we are determining whether or not the campaign actually works. Now, once we have determined that this campaign is actually effective, one of the things that we can do is we can actually share this campaign. And we can do that by going to this campaign sharing link, and we can choose to share our follow-ups, we can choose to share our broadcasts, or we can choose to share our follow-ups and our broadcasts. Now, in this particular case, we are going to choose to share our follow-ups. So we're going to click Save. And when we do that, you'll notice that Aweber is going to give us a campaign code. That campaign code is now going to disappear, but that campaign code now appears in this area. What this means now is that we can actually share this campaign code with someone else who wants to use the same messages in their business. And they would do that by coming to their Aweber account and loading that campaign code in this space that says use a predefined campaign code. So the messages that we are creating right now are technically called autoresponders. They actually arrive into the email box of our client automatically when they sign up for our email marketing list. Now, these are different from broadcast emails. And one of the things that you will have to determine is whether or not you'd like to write your emails and send them out as broadcasts, or whether or not you'd like to have them go automatically to your customers and your clients. So what we're going to look at next is we're going to look at broadcast emails. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video.